All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and we have some positive J.Daniels and Brandon Coleman injury updates. Remember, those are our rookie franchise quarterback and left tackle right there, and it's great to have some positive news there as far as their health goes. Also, we have some Washington Commanders trade deadline strategy said by Dan Quinn. Also, Dan Quinn, great job fighting for your rookie. We're going to explain exactly what I mean by that. Also, Dan Quinn said some things in his press conference after practice earlier today and spoke on several things like how they'll handle this success that they have right now. And of course, this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. But before we dive into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. I'm going to be busy for the next couple of days, but I'm going to try my best to still at least get 2 videos a day out to y'all. I wanted to get 3 done today, but this one, I'm recording this at 11:30 p.m. This is technically being done tomorrow, so I'm way behind, but I really appreciate y'all being patient with me. And let's go ahead and dive into this video, man, right now. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the good injury update news from J.Daniels and Brandon Coleman. Dan Quinn said before practice even happened that they will do some practicing today, which means that Brandon Coleman, dealing with a concussion, going through concussion protocol, and J.Daniels with the rib injury would end up practicing at some point today. But again, when I say today, I mean Wednesday, October 30th, not Halloween, because again, I'm recording this at 11:30 p.m. But either way, they were, and we'll talk about it later. We're going to look at the entire injury report for Wednesday for both the Commanders and the Giants. They ended up being limited in practice, but he also did say that Cornelius Lucas dealing with an ankle injury, so now we know what it was. Remember, at a certain point in that game, Andrew Wiley left the game, and then he came back like a play or two afterwards, so Trent Scott had to play right tackle for a little bit, and then soon after that, Cornelius Lucas got hurt and then never came back into the game. Trent Scott had to finish the game at left tackle for us. That's why I really hope Brandon Coleman is okay to go against the Giants, because they have 2 monsters at defensive end, and throwing Trent Scott out there, it almost makes you question whether we should throw J.Daniels out there, how much I don't trust Trent Scott. And so now we have the official update of why Cornelius Lucas missed the entire game. And also, I'm not very optimistic about his chances of being ready for the Giants, which is really interesting because that means that if Brandon Coleman is able to play, this is going to be the first game where he's a full-time starter. You could say like the last 3-4 weeks, he's been like the semi-starter, like he'll be out there for the first offensive possession, but he and Cornelius Lucas have still been splitting snaps almost evenly, dead down the center type of thing at left tackle with the healthy 1-2 punch rotation that we have going there. It's amazing how seamless it's been working as well. I feel like this coaching staff deserves a big time salute for just that alone on top of everything else that they've been doing this season. But my point is, Brandon Coleman is yet to start an entire game. He's yet to even play 75% of snaps in a game. So to jump from, first of all, not even playing last week at all because of the concussion injury that he suffered against the Panthers, he didn't play not one down against the Bears just this past weekend. So to go from splitting snaps in half to not playing at all to playing full time every single snap in the game, that's very interesting to watch for. I'm very intrigued to know as to will they just trust Brandon Coleman to go out there and do it the entire time if Cornelius Lucas can't play, or will he split snaps with Trent Scott, or maybe they'll bring over some type of free agent that's better than Trent Scott and maybe he'll split snaps with that guy. I don't know. I will definitely keep y'all updated on that, and that's something we will definitely watch for during the live stream when I'm doing my whole play-by-play analysis of everything that's going on for the upcoming game against the Giants. So make sure you pull up for that. But Jan Quinn also said that they will continue to monitor J.Daniels' rib injury. So this is something that he's not 100% cured from, recovered from, anything like that. But hey, man, he looked like he was smiling a lot at practice, as you see on this clip right here. He looks good to go to me. He's smiling. He looks loose. But, you could even tell in that game versus the Bears that he wasn't quite as accurate as he typically is, even though he threw some elite dots at some points in that game. But you could just tell he's not 100%. And I respect the mess out of him for being able to even throw that ball on that Hail Mary as far as he did. And that's why these Commanders veterans absolutely love this kid. They already believed in him before that game, but then for him to go out there with the injury that he had and to do what he did with that injury, to just basically try to ignore, I'm pretty pretty sure some level of excruciating pain that he was going. I mean, you saw him against the Panthers. He couldn't even throw without going. And so I'm pretty sure that, I mean, just that was a crazy moment for him. Just the game from beginning to end. The Hail Mary was like the icing on top, but like the actual real meat of like what J.Daniels accomplished in that game from beginning to end is absolutely insane. And again, I'm just happy to see him smiling at practice, but he was smiling during the game. So this is a kid that even when he's hurt, he's not going to show it. I love that about him. Also, Brian Daboll even spoke on J.Daniels earlier today. He said, quote, he's one of the better quarterbacks in this league already, unquote. So he's trying to butter us up. I guess he's trying to go with the opposing strategy, because every time a team talks trash to us, we end up beating them so far this season. Remember, the Bengals was talking crazy before we played them. Then the Bears was talking crazy before we played them and during the game quite a bit as well. I like the fact that we always win when teams talk trash. And so it seems like Giants head coach Brian Daboll was like, oh, no, y'all not about to get us with that. If anything, I'm going to try to butter them up and see if they take it easy on us type of thing. But either way, if you look on the screen right now, this is your official injury report for Wednesday for both teams. Now, granted, it's early into the practice. We'll have a way better idea by Friday exactly how hurt anybody is, how healthy anybody is, and what their game status will be and all of that. Out, doubtful, questionable, good to go. Y'all know I will update y'all on that before that game. But for our end, Zach Ertz always out with rest. If you've been pulling up every week for these types of videos, you already know he just doesn't practice on Wednesdays. Zach Ertz he's not a Wednesday practicer, I guess. And then even if that's a word. And then you have tackle Cornelius Lucas again, like we already spoke on with the ankle injury. I mean, I really want you back soon, because we're just a Brandon Coleman injury away from having to go throw Trent Scott out there versus Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. And even my Georgia dog Azeez Ojulari. That's not a healthy matchup that I'm willing to accept either way. If we get to the point that Trent Scott ever has to step on that field versus the Giants at left tackle, J.Daniels needs to be running bootlegs, and the pocket needs to always rotate right. We need to have John Bates next to Trent Scott all game. Even with Brandon Coleman, you may still want to do that because he missed last week due to a concussion injury, and we're still not 100% sure he will play against the Giants, but I'm very confident that he will. But he still may need some help out there. He's still a rookie that missed a lot of the offseason, already missed the game in the regular season just last week against the Bears, so he may need some assistance as well. Not as much as Trent Scott if he has to go out there and play. And then, of course, just to let you know, Frankie Louvu did not participate in practice today either with the shin injury, but the way that he looked at the end of that game when J.Daniels was having some sort of like post-game interview right on the field right after the Hail Mary, Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu are sitting there jumping up and down, can't wait to get to him. And as soon as J.Daniels' interview stops, really before he didn't even finish the interview, they kind of like cut him off and just started going yeah and celebrating and hugging him and dapping him up and everything like that. And again, like I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, if J.Daniels is able to dap up people that firm and give them that firm of a hug, his rib injury must be playable. I'm pretty sure it's very, very painful. I'm not doubting the pain at all, but I mean, he's going in for like bear hugs, and so that does make me encouraged that he can't play. That's why I thought he would play against the Bears. I know I'm not any type of scientist or doctor, but I just feel like if his rib injury was to the point that he couldn't play, he wouldn't be giving people bear hugs in the middle of the field after the Panthers game, and just like he did after the Bears game. But either way, my point is, back to my main point, Frankie Louvu was jumping up and down and looking perfectly fine to me after the game. This was after the game ended, so we'll see what's going on there. I'm pretty sure Thursday and Friday we'll get some more optimistic updates from him. He should be good to go against the Giants, even though he didn't participate in practice on Wednesday. Then you have Tyler Biadasz still dealing with that thumb injury that he's been dealing with for a couple of weeks now. He should be good to go. Brandon Coleman, concussion protocol. I mean, I believe he's been do not participate. I think he was all last week, and now he's limited, so that's already a step in a positive direction. Same thing with J.Daniels. Both of those guys dealing with injuries that they suffered against the Panthers. For them to be limited on Wednesday is good news. Cleveland Farrell knee injury, I'm not surprised he's limited. He's been dealing with the same knee injury since the offseason. He's just been kind of on and off. Then you have Brian Robinson, hamstring injury, limited. That's something we need to watch for. Olamide Zaccheaus, hamstring injury as well, something we need to watch for, that he was limited. But really no serious bad news here, except for the news that we already knew coming in. Cornelius Lucas will more than likely not play against the Giants, just based off of the way that the game went on with the Bears, how he left the game and just really had no chance of coming back. Because if Cornelius Lucas could have played through his pain, they would have thrown him out there to play through that pain instead of putting Trent Scott out there there. I think 80% of Cornelius Lucas is still better than 100% Trent Scott. So I knew Cornelius Lucas must really be hurt if we were trusting Trent Scott out there with the multiple false start penalties, getting blown by at times and things like that. But still, shouts out to him for stepping up and contributing in that win, man. I mean, he wasn't great, but it could have been worse. So I'm just happy that, hey, man, he at least came in and did what he was supposed to do. Then on the Giants side, they have a slew of injuries. We're not even talking about the injured reserve. This has nothing to do with the injured reserve here. Now, of course, Dexter Lawrence is another guy that tends to just take a rest on Wednesdays, but everybody else, I mean, linebacker Matt Adams, offensive lineman Josh Suzudu, wide receiver Bryce Ford Wheaton. I forgot that's where he ended up going. Not gonna lie. Punter Jamie Gillett is their kicker. Well, last time we played them, their kicker was hurt, and then after the Austin Eckler return, they got called back, and now their punter is hurt. So we'll see how that goes. I feel like they will be punting a lot versus us, but we'll see. You know they can't score at home. I don't think Daniel Jones has scored at home in like over a season or something like that. It's been like I think it's been like 2 years or something like that. 2 calendar year, something crazy. Then that wide receiver Immer is out. He didn't participate. We'll see. We'll monitor all of these guys throughout the week. Running back Tyrone Tracy, that guy, hey man, they may have found something there. He looked better than Singletary in that game last week, but he's also hurt. He's going through concussion protocol. So as soon as they found the gym, now that guy is hurt as well. And it's quite likely he does not play against us, because so far from what I've seen, Commanders wise only, though, I haven't been looking at other teams that track this, but every time a Commander player has gone through concussion protocol, they've missed the following week. So I'm just going to assume they'll play it safe with Tyrone Tracy the same way as well. And then they have a bunch of limiteds, man. I mean, a lot of these guys that I am worried about, including Brian Burns, in our matchup against them, limited. More likely will play, but like a Dory Jackson, he hasn't been good lately, but all of these guys are limited. So if you're thinking that we're hurt, the Giants are even worse off than we are. But before we dive into the rest of this video, y'all know I had to let y'all know that this show is provided by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, and if you're looking for a new sportsbook, it should be BetUS for sure, man. First of all, they have the fastest payouts in the industry, and I know y'all want y'all money fast, and right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YOUTUBE150. They also have a fast and easy withdrawal and deposit process, so why not, basically. Now let's take a look at some of the bets that we can get into directly from their website. And I know all of the talk has been on J.Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury, and all of this type of stuff. How about Dan Quinn? You're looking right now, Dan Quinn actually has the highest odds, the best odds to win Coach of the Year right now. I was actually pretty surprised by that when I went to the BetUS website and to actually go and look this up. I knew that he was gaining a lot of momentum, but I didn't know he had a clear lead, because next in line is Sean Payton with plus 550 odds, while Dan Quinn is at plus 200. After that, you have Dan Campbell at plus 750. Then you have several coaches at plus 800, like Jim Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, Kevin O'Connell, and then it's just everybody else by a wide gap and further. Right now, Dan Quinn easily has the best odds to win Coach of the Year. So if we continue with this momentum, we're going to get an NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think Cliff Kingsbury deserves Assistant Coach of the Year, and then we may even get Coach of the Year as well. I think Adam Peters deserves Executive of the Year as well, because a lot of people compare us to what the Houston Texans did last year. I would say we're way further ahead than them in a lot of different avenues. So I'm telling you right now, we may, by the end of the season, we may be racking up a lot of awards, including that one trophy that matters most, but we're not going to get into that yet. But now, if you wanted to put $100 onto this bet, with those plus 200 odds of Dan Quinn winning Coach of the Year by the end of the season, if you put $100 down today, you could win $200 by the end of the season once that's officially announced. But if you wanted to play it safe, you just wanted to put a simple little $10 on it, you could end up winning $20 by the end of the year. So I think that based off of the way that the odds are shifting right now, the trajectory of this, it seems like Dan Quinn is quite likely to win it. And especially before we play the Giants, who a lot of people are just assuming will beat. I'm not overlooking any opponent on our schedule, me personally, but I think it is quite likely that we'll beat them. And once we're 7-2, his odds are going to increase even more, which would be less money that you would make by placing the bet. So if you plan on putting this money on this bet at any point this season, now will be the time. But of course, I'm always going to scream at y'all to please make sure y'all gamble responsibly. And also, again, right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YOUTUBE150. Now let's get back to the rest of this video, man. Now let's talk trade deadline strategy. And I'm not here to clickbait you. I'm not about to sit here and act like Dan Quinn said, oh, we need this edge rusher, we need this wide receiver. But he gave like a general idea, like a little background information on how this process goes. Because he said that he sends trade deadline questions to Adam Peters, but says, quote, at this time of year, lots of phone calls are made, unquote, but does note that there is an increase in league-wide trades right now. So first of all, this just reiterates what we already know. Adam Peters is the guy running the show. Dan Quinn has a part in the power, a part in the decision-making process, but at the end of the day, it all goes through Adam Peters. He has the last say. So any questions or concerns or any praise that you want to give to the Washington Commanders for anything that they've done, any decision that they've made as far as coaching hires, front office hires, player acquisition, free agency draft, you can thank a lot of different people, but at the end of the day, Adam Peters is a part of every single decision made for this team, for anybody that's on the football side. Now, of course, the business side, that's like Josh Harris and a few other people all combined. Magic Johnson also probably included in there, even though it's mostly ran by Josh Harris. This one, like, Josh Harris runs a lot of the business, but Adam Peters runs all of the football. So I wanted to make sure we stamped that. Dan Quinn basically just, in his own words, reiterated which we already knew. He also said that this time of year, lots of phone calls are made. So I think he's just downplaying the fact that they are making a lot of phone calls, because some teams are probably getting called more than they're calling. And he kind of just, I don't know, maybe I'm reading into it too much, but it's kind of like he admitted that, yeah, we're making a lot of phone calls, but isn't that what everybody does type of thing? I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into it too deeply, but either way, just know the Commanders are on the phones a lot right now. Are they on it more than any other team in particular? I wouldn't necessarily say that, but they are on the phone, receiving calls, making calls, all of that. Also, he did acknowledge the fact that there are a lot of trades going on right now, just in the NFL, just in general, compared to previous seasons. There are more trades happening, so it's kind of like a fun time. This is a pretty entertaining and chaotic trade deadline, and now we got to see if the Washington Commanders want to join in on the fun. Also, talking about the trade deadline, Scott Abraham asked him, how will he evaluate the roster, deciding whether to make a move or not? Dan Quinn answered, quote, fortunately for me, that's Adam. We talk about the team every day, and at this time of year, there's a lot of phone calls that are made. Again, that was that same quote, part of that quote that I just read you, unquote. But either way, I like the fact that this is like a collaborative effort, and Adam Peters is apparently on it right now. Like Dan Quinn made, like they're talking about the roster. Like, do you think we can make a run with these corners? Do you think we can make a run with these receivers, these edge rushers? If not, should we be making some calls and trying to make some moves? I thought they were trying to get receiver, but apparently not, because for D-Hop to go for a 5th conditional pick that can at best get to a 4th if they make it to the Super Bowl, like that's a crazy, because you got to go to the Super Bowl and D-Hop has to play a large percentage of that game for it to become a 4th. I thought he may even go for a 3rd with no conditions attached to it. And then you have Deontay Johnson out here going for what, like a 5th or a 6th or something, like something crazy. So if we really want receiver, the market is really smooth right now for you. If you really want to trade for one, we'll see if we plan on doing that. But as far as edge rushers, I've seen a lot of competition as far as like several teams are calling about Zadarius Smith. So maybe we're backing out of that because we don't want to get into a bidding war with other teams. Things like that. Wouldn't be surprised if we're sellers. I'm working on a video right now to break down the situation we have with Jonathan Allen and Derek for us, so stay tuned for that, for another video, maybe tomorrow, maybe later on this week before the Giants game. Now moving on, Dan Quinn, shouts out to him for sticking up for his rookie defensive tackle, man, because Dan Quinn officially submitted to the league Johnny Newton's tackle for loss on the second play of the game just against the Bears recently, and he believed that it should be credited for a sack. I just assumed it was a sack. Like during the game, I was like, okay, we're celebrating. Johnny Newton got his first sack. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Good job, rookie. You know what I'm saying? Making your statement, letting it be known you are here. And I already did a whole video breaking down like the great performance that Johnny Newton had against the Bears. That you can go check that out from a couple of days ago. But either way, apparently the NFL tried to take away his first and only career sack by crediting it as like a tackle for loss or something like that, when it was clearly a passing play, but they tried to say it was like a run play or something. But it was, he got to Caleb Williams and everything, so Caleb Williams was clearly trying to throw a screen. It was crazy. So I did notice, like at the end of the game and then going into the next morning, that stats were showing that Johnny Newton did not have a sack, and I'm happy that either Dan Quinn noticed it, somebody brought it to Dan Quinn's attention, and then he went to the NFL to let them know that was definitely a sack. He said, quote, in this press conference earlier today, "It was certainly a pass play, so hopefully it goes his way," unquote. And as you can see on the screen right now, it's clearly a sack. Like, clearly Caleb Williams was trying to throw the ball. But shouts out to Dan Quinn, because Dan Quinn later on in the day said that Johnny Newton was officially awarded a sack on that first series. It was initially ruled a tackle for loss, but the NFL has officially changed it. Thank you, Dan Quinn, for standing up for your player, for your rookie defensive tackle. That is great news. I really appreciate him for going out of his way, taking time out of his day to make sure Johnny Newton got the sack that he deserved, because not necessarily every head coach would do that. I'm not going to lie. That's really big shouts out to him for that one, man. I really appreciate that. And then also moving on, we also need to talk about some things that Dan Quinn spoke about in practice outside of even the sack or the injury updates that I've already given you, because the catalyst for this video was Dan Quinn speaking to the media. That was the whole purpose of this thing. But now we also have some other things that maybe not necessarily as important to where it needs its own segment in this entire video, but definitely worth mentioning in the video. So Sky Abraham asked Dan Quinn how he wants his players to handle success. Dan Quinn answered, quote, "It's poise. If you do that over and over again, you start to create an identity and have confidence. This team has a lot of humility as well," unquote. And like I've said for weeks now, for a couple of months now, I'm not worried about it, because we have so many leaders that have been there, done that at so many different levels, and really every position group. I mean, Zach Ertz, from all of the time he spent with the Eagles, winning the Super Bowl with them. Bobby Wagner winning the Super Bowl with the Seahawks, going to the Super Bowl several times. Same thing in the coaching staff. Dan Quinn. We can keep going. Ken Norton Jr., all of these guys, top to bottom. Anthony Lynn. We have guys, and Adam Peters was just in the Super Bowl last year with the 49ers. He played a large role in building. He was also one of the main roster decision-making guys. I can't remember his exact title, but he was one of the main reasons that the Denver Broncos won that Super Bowl against my dog Cam Newton a few years back. And then he was also one of the lead scouts for the Patriots when they were doing their thing with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. We have so many guys, top to bottom, front office, coaching staff, and roster-wise, that have been there, done that, and they know not to overlook any opponent. They know not to fall for any trap games. They know not to let success get to their head. They know not to ever just calm down and just like, just we'll just assume we'll get it. We're not going to work as hard because we're winning so much. That's just who we are. No, these guys know that you need to go 110% the entire way through. You rest after the season is over, after you have no more games to play. Dan Quinn also said, quote, that there are some really cool leaders, unquote, on the team that help the players lock in and get back on track. My point exactly. Dan Quinn also said that the Washington Commanders need a, quote, 5-quarter, unquote, mindset for division games. So he's talking about this Giants game upcoming. We said I got to play the Eagles twice and the Cowboys twice. He also said that he expects a battle Sunday against the Giants. Do not overlook them. Thank you. Also, he talked about moving Mike Sanderstill to outside corner. He said moving Mike Sanderstill was a, quote, big deal, unquote, for the defense. Loves the tackling the rookie has shown. And I want to add to the fact that this guy is locking people up. I thought he was a pure slot corner coming out of Michigan, and I was surprised that we tried him outside corner. Right now, he's excelling at it, even at his small size. It's actually something amazing to behold. First of all, he's a rookie. Let's just start there. But then also, people his size, even if you've been in the NFL for 10 plus years, typically don't do well at outside corner. So Mike Sanderstill, the coverage that he's displaying, and the willing and great tackling that he's doing against the run game, filling lanes, setting the edge and things like that, getting off of blocks, spectacular spectacular, man. You're playing like a first round pick right now. I'm not sure if everybody's seeing it, even Commanders fans. Maybe some people aren't noticing it, but Mike Sainristil's playing like a first round pick. Johnny Newton just got a lot of the praise just from this recent Bears game, but Mike Sainristil's gotten better and better every week, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. Thank you, Dan Quinn, for noticing. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, and still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Again, I'm trying to come out with like 2-3 videos a day, and I really appreciate y'all being patient with me. Also, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video, how you feel about J.Daniels and Brandon Coleman's positive updates, but Cornelius Lucas's negative update right now. I'm not exactly sure if he'll be able to play against the Giants, and how is that going to affect Brandon Coleman? Is he officially going to start for an entire game for the first time in his young NFL career? Let me know how you feel about J.Daniels fighting through his pain. Let me know how you feel about Dan Quinn and Adam Peters' strategy as far as Adam Peters running the show trade deadline wise, and they've been dealing with a lot of calls right now. Let me know how you feel about Dan Quinn sticking up for his rookie defensive tackle to make sure he got the sack that he deserved. Really appreciate that. Let me know how you feel about all of his comments outside of that I also gave you as well. And make sure you do not leave this video without leaving a like. I'm gonna try my best to read and reply to as many comments as possible. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Oh, and before we go, y'all gotta remember that this video is sponsored by BetUS and Sportsbook and Casino. Like, come on, dog. Y'all know that already, man. And y'all already know I'm always gonna scream at y'all to please gamble responsibly, man. Really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.